My name is Joe Reckes. I'm a contractor for the federal government.
And so I've been doing SCH since 2003. Okay, that's over. Okay. So now would you introduce yourself as the expert?
Hi, my name is Sajjad Ali, and my favorite historical figure is Abraham Lincoln because he gave the Gettysburg Address during the Civil War.
Hi, my name is Ariana, and my favorite historical figure is Harriet Tubman because she freed a lot of people using underground.
Hi, my name is Soju, and my favorite historical figure is the first king of Nepal because he fought the country where I'm from and everything was down. Hi, my name is Adhavan, and my favorite historical figure is Mahatma Gandhi because he gave freedom to Indians from British.
Very inspiring role models. So Congress has formed this congressional committee to gather information about the United States government. And it's also looking at how we met the challenges of the 19th century. You have been called as expert witnesses to appear before this committee to share your knowledge and your opinion. So we'll have 4 minutes for I'll be doing the party. And your timekeeper appears ready. But I'm going to ask you all to breathe because I want to make sure this all goes smoothly and I haven't seen you breathe yet. All right, so can everybody breathe?
Change in reformation doesn't come without its fair share of challenges. The prosperous and successful America we have today didn't come without hardships.
Join us as we take you on a journey through American history and reflect on how our country met the challenges of our changing nation.
Abolitionists are a group of people who faced many challenges. They risked their lives to free enslaved people. Abolitionists fought against slavery because they thought it was unfair. Some abolitionists were formerly enslaved too.
For example, William Mossbaum escaped in 1834 and helped to free people using the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad is a path for enslaved people to go from the south to the north. If Harriet Tubman got caught, she would have been executed.
Still, people fight for their rights. In September of 2024, milling workers went on strike because of unfair treatment and working conditions. They also fought against unfair pay. Boeing and its workers are still in conflict because they have not yet reached a resolution. Conflicts often lead to more challenges.
For example, conflicts about slavery led to the Civil War. One conflict was that the North opposed slavery while the South was accepted. This was mainly because the North's economy was based on factory while the South's economy was based on hand slavery.
Another thing that led to the Civil War was the Missouri Compromise. The Compromise stated if one state joined as a free state, another state must join as a slave state.
This made people like Dred Scott sue the government because they lost their freedom. Dred Scott lost his case in the Supreme Court, overturned the Missouri Compromise, saying that it was unconstitutional. This eventually led to the Civil War.
Maryland's location was so important because it was a border state. This meant that Maryland was in the middle of the North and the South. The North of Maryland favored the Union while the South of Maryland supported the Confederacy.
Also, Maryland had one of the largest ports, Baltimore. The control of the port was vital because ships carried goods like raw material. Maryland's canals and railroads also made it easier to transport goods. The National Road also ran through the middle of Maryland.
The Civil War was a brutal war that did not just impact Maryland, but thousands of people at stake. For the North, their economy had gotten even stronger than before. The population grew since more people wanted to go to the side that had better work availability. The North became more industrial by increasing the number of factories.
The South couldn't say the same. It had lost almost all of their farmland, cities, and towns. Houses had been ransacked and destroyed from the war, and people had to relocate, and most of them went to the North. Unlike the North, the South's economy had crumbled and eventually was destroyed. This was because of the 13th Amendment.
The 13th Amendment was one of the 3 amendments passed following the Civil War. The promises and realities of the 3 amendments are very drastic. The 13th Amendment promised that slavery had ended, but formerly enslaved people had to pay to not be enslaved. If they couldn't pay, they would have to do labor, which was basically slavery.
The 14th Amendment said that birthright citizenship is granted to anyone born or naturalized in America. However, only men got citizenship, and women's citizenship was based on their husbands. President Trump is trying to ban birthright citizenship because he feels that it is unconstitutional. People feel that the amendment is clear about birthright citizenship.
The 15th Amendment said African American men could vote, the Library of Congress at Enoch Pratt Library were opened. Many things happened and changed in Maryland during the 19th century.
Maryland was not the only one to experience big changes in the 19th century. The entire country did. Throughout the 19th century, as a result of various challenges, become the nation it is today.
We hope you enjoy this grand American journey.
Very nicely done. Let's give them a round. You've already taught us something, so now we're going to ask you some questions. And you'll have 6 minutes for this portion of the presentation. And breathing is again encouraged. It's not a bad thing. All right. And the timekeeper is ready, and we're going to start answering questions.
Sure. You guys did a phenomenal job. I want to know a little bit more about how did the Constitution address slavery?
The U.S. Constitution addressed slavery in series of compromises. It neither abolished nor fully protected the institution, but had some provisions that did not support its directive. The U.S. Constitution did not use the word slave, but included clauses related to it, like painless labor.
And back to my colleague Ariana, the 3-5 clause wanted more people's representation towards Congress, so counted 3 out of 5 enslaved people towards the state's population. This made Congress not in slavery until the year 1808.
To add on to my colleague Susan, the importation clause states that if anyone brings a slave into the country, they would have to pay a fine up to $10.
The fugitive clause said that if any enslaved person is to another state, they must return the enslaved person back to the enslaver.
Thank you very much for your answer. Another follow-up question. In what ways did people like Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass resist slavery?
Frederick Douglass actively resisted slavery by writing in the news and press about inequality in slavery. This also included Harriet Tubman's role as the main leader of the Underground Railroad.
Harriet Tubman resisted slavery using the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad is a path that led from the south to the north. Harriet Tubman even freed her parents.
How did slavery impact the economies and cultures of both the North and the South?
The North economy had no impact because they were based on factories. Culturally, they were against slavery and wanted to economy.
The South economy relied heavily on slavery because it was based off agriculture and payless labor. Culturally, they thought that slavery was good and the correct way of life, even if it had given slaves terrible treatment.
Great, thank you. I want to know, how did the Civil War affect different aspects of life throughout the state of Maryland?
It was a border state.
To add on to my colleague's suggestion, if it was a border state, that would mean people from the North and the South Pole would be disagreeing with each other.
Add on to my colleague Ariana, there was a harbor and port in Maryland which made it easier to transport goods and people. Lots of battles were happening in and around Maryland.
To add on to my colleague Susan, many houses and buildings have been destroyed from the war.
Another follow-up question. Which inventions or changes in the 1800s do you think were most important and why?
I think the cotton gin was the most important invention in the 1800s. It was invented in 1793 and took weight up to 50 pounds of cotton. This made cotton reproduction faster and easier.
I respectfully disagree with my colleague Soju. I believe the telephone was one of the most important inventions because you could communicate faster, communicate a long distance, instead of writing letters that take weeks or months to be delivered.
I respectfully disagree with my colleagues Ariana and Suzu because I believe that the light bulb is the most important invention of the 1800s. Before the light bulb, people had to use candles, which would give very dull light and could cause fire hazards. While using the light bulb, your house would be illuminated more and cause less fire hazards.
I respectfully disagree about my colleague Sajid. I think the most important change is ending slavery.
Very impressive. How did Maryland's population change during the 19th century, and why did it change?
Maryland's population changed during the 19th century
Colin Susan, many people wanted to move to the side that had more work availability.
More immigrants came to Maryland via the West Point.
Okay, how have laws changed over time to protect civil rights for all people?
The 13th Amendment said it would fully abolish slavery 9 months after the enslavement of Native Americans ended, but people used chattel slavery instead, which is basically slavery.
Add on to my colleague Ariana. The 14th Amendment granted birthright citizenship to African American men.
According to my colleague Joseph, the 15th Amendment said that African American men granted the right to vote.
To add on to my colleague Adhavan, the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote, and the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination against race, color, sex, or origin.
30 seconds left.
I think you managed to get all the questions in within time, so let's give them a big round of applause. And now everybody should be breathing more easily and even smiling if you don't have to talk anymore. And now it's up to us to give you some feedback on what you taught us and what an impact you had on us.
I have to echo that feedback. I've learned a ton. I think my favorite thing that I learned about your guys' presentation was the impact the Civil War had on the state of Maryland. It's not something that I knew a whole lot about. I thought that was a really, really interesting aspect of this conversation. So I want to thank you for setting the stage, and maybe when I get home today, I can learn even more about that. So thank you very, very much. I think all of you did a phenomenal job. Your presentation was incredible. You made great eye contact. You spoke very confidently. Every single one of you really, really knew your stuff. So I think you guys set the bar extremely high today. Very nicely done.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming here today. Excellent composure with your answers. You guys are obviously very well prepared. I learned something about the language in the Constitution, and it didn't actually mention slavery. They used some alternative words. And I didn't know that the group knew that the fire department would be here, so I appreciate you relating fire hazards to one of your answers as
And I'm going to respectfully agree with my colleagues. I think you did a wonderful job. I love that you started out with an introduction saying the challenges brought with the hardships. I thought that was a good way to preface your speech. You didn't just come out as answering the questions that are, related to this topic, so I thought that was wonderful. I love that you virtually answered every question with every person. So everyone was not afraid to put forward their own opinions, to agree, to supplement, or to disagree with something that had been said by one of their colleagues. And that's really hard to do because I know you all have so much stuff packed in your heads you want to get out. Sometimes you forget to listen to one another, but you clearly were paying attention to what your colleagues were saying. And that shows you understand the importance of 2 years and only 1 now. So that's very, very strong. Adhavan? Good. I don't know the sign, so I'm guessing. Okay, so I'm glad I got it right. Okay, I love that you talked about Dred Scott and how important that was in looking at how laws and challenges to those laws changed where we were and what issues had to be addressed by those. And I also like that you brought in the fugitive slave law when you were talking about the different impacts and the ways in which the Constitution or at least the legal system tried to address the continuing issues around slavery. And Susan, you brought in the military compromise, which was surely the tipping point to the Civil War, because that was a sort of a band-aid. It wasn't going to really address the issues that were raised between the South and the North, and you made that point clearly. And you talked very eloquently about the Freedom Clause and the fact that freedom of every 5 African American for representation, but not for rights, was a way again of sidestepping the problem and not necessarily. And Ariana, you talked about the importance of the Port of Baltimore, because it provided access for the shipping of goods and services and people. And also the fact that we had the railroad and we had the national road, which everybody pretty much came through now during the Civil War. You had to pass through. And because we were so close to Washington DC, the troop station would almost be making us, so it really wasn't possible to do much more. And then, Diane, you talked, I'm sorry, Sajid, I'm sorry. You talked about the importance of being a border state, which is what we were talking about. Everybody came through, and we had differences between the west and northern part of the state and the south and eastern parts of the state that were at odds. And the state was really split. You know, because this is my tribute for today, that the Maryland flag, which has the diamonds, those are the top diamonds, and has the cross, Confederates marched under the cross, we would Southerners marched under the Calvert diamond. And after the Civil War, Maryland put the pieces together so that everyone would recognize that we were reunited as a state and one people. And you also talked about, I think electricity in general, but the light bulb in particular made a huge difference. So, I'm gonna thank you guys again. I'd like to thank your teachers for getting you ready, okay? This has been not just a 4-week journey, but it's been since the beginning of the year. This is like your final exam on social studies for the whole year. I want to thank the audience for being so polite. This is the most respectful, including for 5th graders, I think that's very nice. So let's get that round of applause. And let's thank the paparazzi. I believe are your parents, so let's thank them for that every adult in the room would agree that we are not.
Please rise while our judges leave.
Thank you. Thank you.
Judges, you can leave the door open, please. Thank you very much.